Hello YouTubers, Alaska Prepper here. So as some of you may know, my mother-in-law is visiting. And guess what? She found my recipe book. And now I'm going to probably be cooking everything in this book for the time that she's here. So stand by if you guys want to learn how to cook or bake the best brown sugar maple cookies that you guys have ever had. Now this is a very simple recipe, ladies and gentlemen, so grab your pencils, your piece of paper, because you all know that I don't like to write down recipes in the description. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to work on our wet ingredients. And the first thing we're going to need is, excuse my arm there, is 1 cup of brown sugar. I'm taking it slow so you guys can write this down. If not, just rewind. We're going to need a 1/4 cup of molasses, 2 full sticks of softened butter. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, this is something that you have once in a while. And what's AP doing? For those of you that are new, first of all, thank you for spending a little time here today. But what's AP doing making cookies on a prepper channel? Well, I think that having the availability of and being able to make your own comfort foods during any kind of either a personal or systemic crisis is very important. First of all, you're going to be using a lot more calories in a crisis, running around and doing stuff. And it's always good to have a bit of normalcy in times of crises as well. Next thing we're going to need is just 1 egg. And we're going to need a teaspoon of vanilla. Now, any of you that haven't had this vanilla, give it a try. It was actually gifted to me because I can't get it up here because Amazon won't ship. But this is in my Amazon storefront. If you want to take a look at it, it's kind of pricey, but this is the best vanilla I have ever had. So we're going to need 1 teaspoon of this. And I've been using this pretty frequently, as you can see. So that's about 1 teaspoon. And last but not least, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to need some adobo. Just kidding, ladies and gentlemen. We're not going to need any adobo for this recipe. All we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and mix this all together. And then we're going to set it aside. And then I'll show you what the dry ingredients are. And then you'll see how easy this recipe really is. It's a no-brainer and it's really quick. Alright, now for the dry ingredients. As you can see here, the bowl is mainly full of flour. And just in case you guys want to know, this is all full organic flour and it's outstanding. If you have a Costco near you, that's where I go to get this flour. And it's the only organic flour they sell at Costco, but it's an outstanding product. In addition to that, you're going to see that I have 2 teaspoons of baking soda, 1 tablespoon of ground cinnamon, 1/2 teaspoon of Chinese 5-spice, and 1 teaspoon of sea salt. And that's all you need. So now all we need to do is mix this together really well, then add our wet ingredients, and then we'll be ready to put them on a pan. Okay, that looks like it's good to go. So some of you may be asking, why am I mixing it by hand? I do have a KitchenAid, but I just like doing this stuff by hand. It's kind of like therapy. All right, so I like doing it by hand, but by all means, if you have a mixer, because you don't have the strength in your hands to do this, it'll work just as well. Now, what I like to do before I start forming my cookies is I like to put this in the fridge for about 15-20 minutes so it can harden up. It makes it a lot easier to work with when you're making your cookies and putting them on a pan. So we'll be back in a few minutes, my time, just a second or two your time, and then we'll put these on a pan and in the oven, which we want to preheat to 325 degrees. So my oven is preheated, and this has been in the fridge for about 20 minutes, which will make it a lot easier to work with. So all I did now is I have a big old cookie sheet, as you can see, and I lined it with some parchment paper. So now all I'm going to do is I am going to go ahead and scoop out. I use this little apparatus here. It's just a miniature ice cream scoop. Makes it a lot easier and helps the cookies to come out more uniform. So all I'm going to do is scoop them up here, place them on the parchment paper. Then we're going to put them in the oven for 14 to 15 minutes. But depending on where you live, it may be a little bit longer. It may be a little bit less time. So just take a look at them. After about 13-14 minutes or so, take a look at them. You should be able to see they should have flattened out pretty well, and you can even touch one and see if they feel like they're done. You should be able to tell. All right, so let's go ahead and take care of this, and then we'll be back when these cookies are done. See how easy this is? No time at all. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this batch that I made up made exactly 24 cookies. And I had to cook them for about 23 minutes for them to get fully done. If you see these little lines there, it's not something that I recorded, I forgot. Usually about 12 minutes into the process, I go in there with a spatula and I press down on them to make sure that they flatten out a little bit, because these wanted to stay a little puffy, but they look great. Now let's go ahead and do a taste test. Ladies and gentlemen, I already knew these were going to be awesome. They are outstanding. And guess what? My mother-in-law likes them as well. So, win-win. Hey, listen, thank you very much for staying this far into the video. I have a little bonus video for you if you'd like to watch. It's going to be a really quick recipe of beef stew that can actually save you a lot of time during the week. If you'd like to do it, you're looking at about 10 minutes prep time, half an hour cook time, and you're ready to eat. All right, so stick around if you want to watch that. If not, thank you very much for joining in. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for sticking around this far into the video. So I figured I'd give you guys a bonus recipe for one of those nights that you get home and you just don't have time to cook a healthy meal. So before you think about going and ordering a #1 at McDonald's, think of how easy this is, and I'm going to show you right now. Now, this meal that I'm going to do is a beef stew, and it does require the use of an electric pressure cooker. All right, so if you have like an Instapot or a Denki, like the one that I did a giveaway for a while back, it's going to work just fine. First, I'm going to go ahead and show you the ingredients that are very simple, very easy to prepare. There's absolutely no spices necessary in this meal, ladies and gentlemen. In my experience, and I've made this meal a lot in the same way, no spices at all. It comes out very, very good. So first thing we're going to need is a few pounds of meat, as much as you want. This probably here is probably about 3 pounds of meat. So that's the first thing. Second thing, as you can see over here, I have probably about a pound and a half of potatoes cut up into, small bite-sized pieces. In this bowl, I have probably about 2.5 cups of carrots diced up. I have the equivalence of a medium-sized onion chopped up into pieces, about 1/2 cup of peas, and about 1/4 cup of the Oxen Farms dehydrated celery. That's all that's in here. So now what we're going to do is we're going to put everything into the Instapot. Oh, just a second. I almost forgot 2 more ingredients. We're going to need a quart of beef broth. You can use any kind of broth you want, but I figured that the beef broth would complement the meat that I'm putting in there. And this beef broth has a lot of sodium, so that is why I'm not adding any salt to this. What you're going to do is you're going to take about 1 cup of that beef broth. You're going to put it aside in a small container, jar, bowl, whatever. You're going to put 2 tablespoons of cornstarch, and you're going to let this sit there until after everything is done cooking so that we can thicken up our sauce. Very easy. So now let's go ahead and put everything into the Instant Pot. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I know that this pressure cooker I know that this is the highest level we can get to that is recommended that you use. Usually they come with a line, which is right here. I'm not sure if you guys can see that or not. Let me see if I can bring you guys in. But there's a line right there that pretty much tells you no more than this. All right, so I got just enough there to make a full pot, which will feed a lot of people. Now we're going to go ahead and dump our beef broth in there. Like I say, you remember to wait until after it's done cooking before we add our other cup of beef broth that has the cornstarch in it. So we're going to close this up. And then, depending on what model you have, will depend on what setting you put it on. So sorry for the shakiness, ladies and gentlemen. It's my high-tech stuff. So on this one right here, I have to push menu. And I'll keep pushing menu. You see right here where it says meat and stew. That's exactly where you're going to leave it. For 30 minutes is the preset amount of time. And all you have to do now is just press start. Now this is going to do all the cooking for you. All you have to do is, once it beeps, leave it be for about another 20 minutes because it will naturally depressurize. We'll bring you guys back when it's done. It's all done. So now we are going to open it, stir everything around. I haven't looked in here yet, but it beeped probably about 20-25 minutes ago, meaning that it should be depressurized. But this red button here, for any of you that have this model, this red button will allow any steam out that's still in there. And you can see a little bit still came out. So what I do is I just grab a sponge, I put it over the vent right here, and then I press the red button until all of the remaining pressure in there is equalized, which is not that much. All right, that took about 15-20 seconds to finish depressurizing. One thing that I kind of like about this, by the way, is that if it's got too much pressure, it won't let you open it. So when you open it, it's pretty safe to open it. Now, I always mention this because it's very important for safety reasons. If you have one of these and you open it, remember there's going to be steam coming out, right? So be careful. See, I usually like to open it a little bit like that, and then I open the whole thing. And as you can see, everything looks like it's really well cooked. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to stir this around so I can mix everything together. And everything looks like it came out really, really nice. Very good. Now we're going to go ahead and take our cornstarch with broth that we had. I'm going to just pour the whole thing in there. We're going to stir this around. And depending on how thick you like the gravy, or the gravy part of the stew, will depend on how much you use. We kind of like it a little bit soupy, but that's up to you. So what I do now is I just close this up again after I stirred it around really well, and I let it sit there for about 10 minutes so that it can thicken up. So really, ladies and gentlemen, most of the time that you're spending making this meal is allowing the pressure cooker to do most of the work. So we'll go ahead and let that stand, or let that sit for a few minutes, and we'll be right back to show you the finished product. Well, ladies and gentlemen, there you go. I did taste it already, and it is very good. What I like about not really using any spices on there is that you get to taste everything. You get to actually taste the carrots, the potatoes, and the meat. And the gravy came out really good. Let me show you the consistency of the gravy. See that? So it's got a nice gravy and a couple of pieces of homemade bread with a little butter on it. Can't ask for more than that. All right, ladies and gentlemen, so thank you very much for sticking around to the end of the video here. Listen, if you are still here, you're definitely one of my VIPs. So if you'd like to get a copy of the recipe for the brown sugar molasses cookies, send me an email. My email is under the description of all my videos, and on the subject line of the email, put down brown sugar molasses cookie recipe. And I will be working on putting that together in a Word document and forward it to you guys, all right? So I hope that you guys enjoyed the video. Having said that, if you do want to support the channel, please take a look at the links below. None of those links cost you any money unless you want to make a charitable donation that I use for charity. Other than that, you can use my Amazon link and any of my other links that I have for long-term food storage if you guys are in the market for that. Thank you very much again for joining in. Remember to be good to each other. When good people do good things happen. Remember to reach one, teach one, and repeat. If we all did this, the world would be a better place. And you know that it will be a better place. Many blessings to all of you and your families. This is Alaska Prepper, and I'm out.